Rich lifestyles and classic elegance have long been associated with fine timepieces. Only ardent watch fans know that these practical accessories also have a significant chance of turning into a successful investment. There are several possibilities available if you want to purchase men's watches that will appreciate in value. Yes, you have heard that right. Timepieces that will appreciate in value. The alternatives are endless, from relatively recent releases that have steadily increased in value to classy vintage models that have dominated price lists for decades. Finding the right one for your interests and financial situation is all that remains. Hello and welcome to yet another interesting video on matters to do with investments from your favorite channel. Today, we will discuss how, or rather which watches you can buy and, in the long run, increase your worth thanks to the watches appreciating. Before doing that, hit the subscribe button and turn on the post notification bell. With that done, let's see these watches that mean literally, time is money. Number 10. Omega SPEEDMASTER. With the caliber 3861, Omega completely redesigned their premium SPEEDMASTER Moonwatch Professional in 2020. With a coaxial escapement, silicon balance spring, and Meta's Master Chronometer certification, the eye-catching new movement aligns the Moonwatch with the rest of Omega's collection. However, some fans believe that by departing too far from the Moonwatch's original caliber 321 movement, the watch has become too high-tech and has lost touch with its heritage as a space watch. The caliber 1861, a direct ancestor of the 321, was contained in the prior Speedy, which was recently decommissioned to make room for the new one. Some people already believe that it was the last real Moonwatch, which suggests that as time passes, prices will rise. With that in mind, this would be a perfect piece to own now that the prices are expected to rise, raising your watch's value. Number 9. Omega SEAMASTER. Omega watches were formerly thought of as a great value on the vintage market, and in a few places they still are. However, the vintage market has followed the current version of the brand's recent upscaling, with earlier Omega models that were formerly accessible fast gaining value to catch up to their present-day luxury siblings. In particular, one model, the SEAMASTER 300, has seen substantial growth. The Ref 165.024, created in the 1960s, has a beautiful design with Arabic indices, sword hands, and the big triangle as the most desirable examples. It also has historical value since the British Royal Navy ordered it for usage. Although they are still affordable, costs have been rapidly rising over the previous 2 years and don't seem to be about to slow down anytime soon. Number 8. Rolex GMT Master 2. Rolex has always been a symbol of luxury and status, thanks to the masterpieces they have always created. When Rolex reintroduced the stainless steel Pepsi bezel GMT Master 2, reference 126710BLRO, in 2018, everyone who owned a vintage Pepsi GMT rejoiced, and everyone who wanted to own one but didn't panicked. This is due to the Pepsi bezel craze that Rolex's recent release set off, which drove up the cost of all previously owned Pepsi bezeled Rolex references. It used to be feasible to obtain certain Pepsi GMT Master or Master 2 references for under $7,000, but that is now nearly impossible, with the majority of references beginning at over $12,000. Even if the new ones retail for $9,700, they sell secondhand for double that. The GMT Master 2, reference 16710, stands out as an exception. It's just a matter of time until this model, the GMT Master 2's second generation, catches up to the rest of its soda-loving family, given how easily accessible it is for approximately $2,000 less than other Pepsi references. Number 7. Rolex SUBMARINER. Rolex redesigned its own symbol, the SUBMARINER, in 2020, similar to how Omega updated the SPEEDMASTER. The SUBMARINER, the most well-known diver in the world, was withdrawn in all 40mm variants and, for the first time in its existence, was made into a 41mm watch. This well-known illusion, known as the Hulk, was one among the victims. Even though a new 41mm Hulk was added to Rolex's collection to take its place, the price of the Hulk skyrocketed as soon as word of its withdrawal spread. The phenomenon is probably the same as what we see among Speedmaster enthusiasts, who believe that the 40mm sub's discontinuance marks the end of an era. Consequently, even if you don't get the Hulk Furious, you can probably anticipate its value will keep rising. Number 6. PATEK Philippe Nautilus. The PATEK Philippe Nautilus, reference 5711, is perhaps the trendiest watch in the world right now. PATEK accomplished the unimaginable in 2021 and declared they were abandoning their most popular model, with waiting lists for the watch reported to be 10 years long. As a result, the watch's already inflated price increased. However, it is too late to attempt to invest in the reference, as they are now going for far over $100,000, 3 times the original price. So it makes sense for you to consider your options, which is where the reference 3800 comes in. The 3800, the mid-sized follow-up to the first Nautilus, is now very inexpensive given how well-liked the model family is. It is by far the most reasonably priced men's Nautilus available and offers plenty of opportunity for development. Number 5. PATEK Philippe AQUANAUT. This is PATEK's other sports watch, and it is a different option from the 5711 that will probably provide a speedier return on investment than our prior item. Though less well known than the Nautilus, the water-resistant AQUANAUT is a highly sought-after steel sports watch from PATEK. In other words, if you're fortunate enough to get one, you'll probably be able to recoup at least some of your investment. Collectors are expected to turn to the AQUANAUT in greater numbers as they continue to be priced out by Nautilus references, which should drive up demand and costs. As it is, the already difficult-to-find watch sells twice its retail price on the secondary market, and there are no signs that its value will decrease anytime soon. Get one and hold it, for it may be a big deal soon. Number 4. ROLEX DAYTONA. While there are no guarantees when investing in watches, this is the closest thing. The current Rolex Daytona, which has years-long waitlists and an expanding mystery, is perhaps the most difficult non-limited edition watch to get at retail, along with the 5711 Nautilus. The value of all Daytona references has increased dramatically due to the popularity of the current Daytona and recent, successful auctions of certain personal vintage Daytonas held by the world's most well-known Daytona enthusiast, Paul Newman. But the original Daytona, reference 6239, continues to be the best bet. Since it was the first, it will probably always be well liked, although interest in subsequent illusions, particularly the present version, may fade. Number 3. AUDEMARS PIGUET Royal Oak. It's important to note right away that the contemporary Royal Oak is a very pricey option. This model is by far the most well-known among AP's flagship watches, since it is the truest to the design that launched the premium steel sports watch market in 1972. Similar to the Nautilus and the Daytona, they sell for around double what they would cost new on the used market. Some could argue that the price is too high, and they might be right. But if Audemars Piguet pulls a PATEK and chooses to stop making the reference 15202 ST, it's extremely likely that this watch would quickly trade for 6 figures, similar to what happened with the 5711 model. Purchasing one of them is a gamble, but we warned you that purchasing watches was dangerous. But again, we live to risk. Number 2. Breitling Watch NAVITIMER 1959 Re-Edition. Finding a genuine replica of a vintage chronograph is your best option if you want to invest in one but can't locate or afford one. Rarely will one be found that has the same components restored in the same manner as this Breitling NAVITIMER. This brand's new vintage clock, which was developed 60 years after its original 1959 release, has grown to become one of the most well-known watches in the whole globe. That's because the original model's rotating slide rule bezel and traditional hand-wind chronograph are instantly recognizable to anybody who knows about timepieces. The new NAVITIMER only contains 2 brand new components. It is also well known for its scale that measures fuel usage, a stronger movement, and a remarkable power reserve of 70 hours. It goes without saying that this can be among the top investment watches available right now. Number 1. Longines Vintage Chronograph. The Longines Vintage Chronograph is not a high-end investment, despite having been made in the 1940s and 1950s. In fact, it can be the ideal choice for anybody searching for a watch to invest in that is affordable. Longines has recently had a rapidly expanding fan following, and more individuals are considering purchasing their classic models. Even while it won't make you a ton of money immediately, a Longines vintage chronograph demonstrates the brand's steadfast dedication to heritage. There will always be those who value the workmanship that went into creating the metal case, bracelet, ageless crystal, and manual winding mechanism these watches have. Since everything is manufactured by hand, each watch is a special work of art that is valuable to own. That marks the end of what we have prepared for you. Which among these do you think will be the best investment choice and why? Please let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Subscribe and like. Until the next one, stay safe and stay tuned. Peace.